Hello, I'm Sam. Welcome to the Ball Watching FC podcast, and episode 5 starts with a message to make sure you're staying positive. Don't let England versus Ghana affect your optimism and excitement for England this tournament. So I don't know about you, but it's so hot. It's so hot. It's 36 degrees. Anyway, football. Let's talk about football. This has done nothing to change my mind about how far I think England can go this summer. I've seen too many England performances over the last 20 years since I've been properly watching England to think that one performance is going to change my mind about how successful England can be this summer. And I'm here to make sure that you're not losing any faith whatsoever, even a percentage, because I just think the foundation of Tuchel and England has not been affected whatsoever by this draw. It's at best a road bump, but even for me, I don't see it as a road bump. If we look back again at these big teams, Spain versus Cape Verde, I know I keep banging on about it, but if we look at Portugal, imagine Portugal, how they felt after their first game, and Spain. And we've seen so many performances. I know France have won their first 2 games, but there's performance moments in there that just weren't quite at it, and we are in the second game. It's the second game of the tournament, and that's a really big deal for me to not take to heart what we saw during the 0-0. And Jude Bellingham said it. He said second game fever. And did you know, it's not a great stat for England fans. The last 4 major tournaments, we've drawn our second game. Every single one. And need I remind you that 2 of those, we got to the final. So don't let it ruin any hope, excitement, faith that you have in England this summer, because we can still go far, and I do truly believe that we can get to the semi-final at least. I also think sometimes certain games aren't about you. And I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but basically, I think if I'm a neutral and I watch that game, I'm going away thinking about how well Ghana played, not how badly England played. I don't think we played that badly. Maybe I'm in the minority there, because let's face it, at best it was boring. But I just think sometimes it's not about you. And obviously we're England, so we're going to come away from a draw and think, oh, why didn't we win? That's a really important thing. Why didn't we win? And I don't want to be too negative about it, because Ghana played really well, and Ghana clearly played a setup. And Ghana clearly set up to make sure that they were structured, there was no space, they were difficult to break down, and that's exactly what they were. So I'm really keen to make sure that there's no one out there, again, this is my opinion, I don't think England played badly. I think Ghana played very well. And that is something that we wouldn't see if we got to a knockout stage. I really think Ghana would have gone for it. They're not going to play for penalties. They're not going to play for extra time. And I think that's what we saw in the last 10 minutes when Ghana opened up. You probably should have had a penalty, let's face it. So, what we drew, we could have lost that easily. But another thing I wanted to mention is, and I can get easily philosophical about football, as I love to, but football is about fine margins. And if we're going off of that, then that Kane miss. If Kane scores that goal, what do you think the headlines are today? What do you think the feeling is online and among your friends? It would be very much about we weren't at our best, but we got it done. This is gritty England. England can get a result even if they don't play well, and maybe we get carried away and think that we're going to win it all. But to be fair, rightly so. But it's those fine margins that I think football is all about. Also, as a little side note, apparently there was a Ghanaian witch doctor who put a curse on Harry Kane not to score, and he did miss a goal that he probably should have scored. But I have been reliably informed that he has lifted the curse for Panama, which, by the way, we're definitely going to win. So don't worry about it. But yeah, I just wanted to use this podcast to kind of speak to you directly and say if there's any worry that you have about England this tournament because of our 0-0 draw and because of our performance yesterday, you do not need to worry. We've been here before. We got to finals when we drew these games. Please stay excited. Please stay behind the team and don't get caught. I said this in my first podcast. One of my bugbears of the World Cup is any little thing that England might do wrong, people can get carried away with. And I'm sure there are people out there right now who will take this 0-0 draw and they'll be saying, England aren't going to win the World Cup if we play like that. We didn't get the result. We need to find a way to win these games. Yes, we do. But need I remind you, England aren't trying to win the World Cup today. England are trying to get a result against Ghana. And generally, what we're trying to do, even if we lost that game, England are trying to get through to the knockout stages of this World Cup. Even if we have that best third place spot, it doesn't matter. We're trying to stay in this competition. We're trying to win this competition. But that requires breaking everything down and doing everything in stages. And yesterday, we didn't need to win the game. It was a draw in the end, and it won't affect my optimism and excitement for what England can do this summer, which is, I believe, semi-finals minimum. I want to talk about the stars. I want to talk about the stars who have shown up and put on a show that we were hoping that they would. I made a list of the top scorers of all time in the World Cup who are here right now this summer. Obviously, Messi is here. He is now out and out, the all-time record goal scorer. But Mbappe's chasing him. He's 2 goals behind him. So Messi is on 18. Mbappe is now on 16. And he ties with Miroslav Klose, who was top before this tournament. And Ronaldo and Kane are coming up the rear with 10. This tournament could finish with a brand new top 4 all-time World Cup top scorers. And I don't want to talk about Messi too much because I could probably talk about him for a very long time. But he is the greatest of all time. And what a privilege it is to see Mbappe and Harry Kane, and yes, even Ronaldo, with all the noise that's happening around him, to watch these players, the greatest, get these accolades. And who knows what will happen at the end of this tournament? How many goals will Messi be on? Because we've had 2 games and he's scored in each one. Multiple goals. Mbappe is absolutely looking like he's on it. Looks like he's one of the best players in the world again. The World Cup is his tournament. He loves this tournament. And it's just one of those things. And I felt this 4 years ago. I wanted to watch Argentina as much as possible because they're not going to be here for very long. Messi and Ronaldo, this is probably their last tournament. And I just want to make sure that we're all appreciating it and what a privilege it is to see these players play at the highest level. And that is what the World Cup is. I know it's got its problems and everything, but the World Cup just brings this inevitability of brilliance. And what an honour it is. And I wanted to share that with you. Oh, that's a hot take. It is a hot take, and I don't even know if I believe it, but I'll say it anyway because it is a hot take. Ronaldo will have a very messy, if you'll pardon the pun, a retirement because he won't know when to retire, and this will mar his reputation in world football. Do you think Ronaldo will know when to retire? Because usually you hear all these ex-players say, I felt it in my body and my body told me before my mind did. And obviously Ronaldo is a god and he's just able to do these incredible things still at his age. And I just feel like his body has probably told him a few times, it's getting more difficult to do this kind of stuff. But his mindset and his ego and his arrogance, and I mean that in the best possible way, is that of, I deserve to be here, I deserve to start for my country, so much that I just can't see him announcing his retirement. And I wonder if there'll be a time when he just won't be able to even do it in the Saudi Arabian League, because we all age, we all get, a bit worse each year physically when you get into your 30s and onwards. And I just wonder if he'll have the ability to put his ego aside and say, look, I've had an incredible career, but I understand now that I'm even leaving out certain players, maybe even exciting young strikers, Portuguese strikers, in the team. And I've got to step aside because I'm getting in the way of that. And I wonder if he has that ability. And I hope he does. I really hope he does. And I do think he does. But there's a part of me that just thinks he won't be able to accept that he might be second best at some point, even if he gets to 44, even if he gets to 46. Who knows how long he'll go for until he realises that it's the right thing to do to retire and enjoy football from the sidelines. And on that topic, I also thought about Harry Kane and how, in 4 years' time, our next World Cup, Harry Kane will be 37 years old. And how would we feel if Harry Kane had lost some ability because he got a bit older, but he was still getting called up and he was still our captain and he was still an important leader within England, and he was less mobile on the pitch? And he wasn't dropping back as much, and he wasn't in the right position, and he never had that much pace to begin with compared to other players. But I just wonder how we would feel if an exciting new English striker was coming through in 4 years' time, but Harry Kane was there because he was the leader, because he was still really important, because he was still getting called up. But I guess the difference for me would be attitude. Harry Kane is a selfless player. He thinks about other people. He doesn't come across as having that ego in a way that he just wouldn't step aside for someone. Like, I feel like he'd know when to retire, or internationally retire at least. So I guess that is another question. Would you as an England fan feel okay with Harry Kane being called up at 37 years old when there are some young guys coming through and they're staying on the bench because Harry Kane is still playing? Because I guess that's essentially what's happening in Portugal right now. But food for thought. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, really. I just wanted to check in to make sure that you still believe in England, because I know that was boring. And I know that you can easily lose a bit of faith by watching what you saw yesterday. But just know that I still have an incredible amount of faith in England, and I am completely unwavered. And I'm sure you are too. I'm sure you still, that doesn't change anything. But I just wanted to check in and make sure. And let's go England for Panama. I just wanted to check in and make sure. And what's my last line? But I just wanted to check in. And make sure. And I'll see you for England versus Ecuador in the last 32, and England versus Mexico in the last 16, and England versus Brazil in the last 8, and England versus Argentina in the last 4, and England versus France for the final of the World Cup. Sounds good. See you there. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, please subscribe, please throw water in someone's face because it's 36 degrees, and say, "Cool off with the podcast, the Ball Watching FC podcast." And please join me next time.